Hello, today we are going to talk about RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation. We will see how we can solve some business problem. So the business problem of the YouTuber that create a lot of videos and generate a lot of text is that they need to generate title, they need to generate description, they need to generate tags, they need to generate hashtags for their videos, and of course it takes some time. Of course, I can create some query to some ChatGPT, for example, and then retrieve that information. But it's nice example how we can create a software that can help to solve that issue. So what we are going to do here, we are going to connect to ChatGPT service, so to OpenAI. We are going to use GPT 4.0 model to generate information, and we are going to display. Okay, so let's start first how we can connect to that kind of service. Okay, the connection to the service, we can create always some kind of class. So let's say OpenAI service, and like normal API, we use usually URL to that OpenAI. In this case is API OpenAI.com, and then this link to that API. And what we need to do, we need to generate a key. Of course, to get that key, you need to register in a OpenAI. Of course, you need to pay some money to have the access to API. And if you have that one, you can use that API, and you will receive some key. Of course, you can generate a lot of keys for a lot of your software, but yeah, you need to generate API key. And if you have that API key, you can connect to the model. In this case, I'm using GPT 4 or GPT 4.0 mini, so not the newest one, but it was quite good for test. For that kind of task, you don't need to have the newest model. You don't need to have the newest model to generate some content. Okay, but anyway, that was quite interesting exercise, because if you use GPT 4 and GPT 4.0, you are receiving in the end a little bit different content. We are going to discuss with that how to handle that content, because it's quite tricky at first. Okay, what we are going to do here? Yes, in a code in the index, I'm creating some prompt. Of course, that prompt can be generated in a different way, but here's the prompt. Of course, there is some kind of business logic in that prompt, because I would like to have the same words in a title, description, in a tags for better search, for better CEO. And all those kind of things. So that's quite logic. There's quite some kind of logic in that prompt. But what is quite important is that we after the generation, we are going to get a huge response, and to structure that response, we would like to somehow structure that response. And here already in a prompt, I wrote something like title. I wrote something like description and tags and hashtag. And what is the best practice here is to take the data from that huge content. I will show that content and put to the JSON. And of course, I have some small JSON parser. So I would like to in the end see some title, some description, tags, and hashtags. If I would not do that, and if I would not convert the outcome to JSON, it would be really difficult to manipulate the data. So in this case, I'm going to run that. Okay, and okay, there's a text. Of course, the text can be written, can be somehow generated, and that generated text can be put into that as an input to that prompt. So it can be done a lot of things, but here is just to understand the concept. Okay, I will click generate. So with generation, now the application is sending the prompt to the LLM, and then we are going to receive output. We are going to receive great output, and then we are going to create some JSON from that output, and then put to that text boxes. So if you see, you have nice stuff. I enter some text. Of course, it can be some kind of description of the video. You know, that can be, if you have the longer description, the better, because then you can. But then the prompt is better, and basically LLM has a more information to create all those kind of information. But okay, there is title, mastering artificial intelligence with apply manager. So this is a good one. There's also, of course, description. So something about the video, keywords, hashtags, and what is important, and it's easy. It is nice to see from the, let's say, high-level perspective, is that we are receiving some output of that request to our LLM, and then what we see a lot of things that is not necessary for us to create that content. So without creating nice JSON, it would be difficult to extract the right data. So that is the really good trick. And I tested, and with GPT-4 and GPT-4o, there is a different output. So that content that we need to manipulate is different. So I only test 2 models, but I can imagine that with different models, the content generation would be also different. So it's always good practice to create JSON in the end. It's quite nice application. So that small C# application is connecting to API of the OpenAI. You know, send the prompt, send the information that about the video, and then is all the information, all the content is generated in the fly. We are receiving the big byte of data. We are manipulating with the data and showing the right result. So that's simple. That is really simple example. If you like that example, please press like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you.